January 23, 1963, Beirut, Lebanon. A British intelligence officer walks calmly toward a Soviet freighter anchored in the harbor. He carries no suitcase, no farewell note. Within hours, he will vanish into the Soviet Union, leaving behind one of the most devastating betrayals in modern history. His name, Harold Adrian Russell, Kim Philby. To his friends, he was the perfect English gentleman. To Moscow, he was their most valuable spy in the West. Philby was born in 1912, the son of the eccentric adventurer and Arabist St. John Philby. Educated at Cambridge, he absorbed not only privilege and charm, but also radical politics. The Great Depression and the rise of fascism convinced him that the future belonged to communism. Recruited by Soviet intelligence in the 1930s, Philby swore loyalty to Moscow while presenting himself to the world as a loyal Englishman. When war broke out, Philby slipped effortlessly into British intelligence. By 1940, he was working for MI6. Brilliant, ambitious, and impeccably mannered, he rose quickly through the ranks, eventually heading Section 9, the unit responsible for countering Soviet espionage. The irony was staggering. The man leading Britain's fight against Moscow was, in fact, Moscow's most prized mole inside MI6. Philby's betrayals were catastrophic. During World War II, he passed Allied plans directly to the NKVD. After the war, when the CIA and MI6 plotted covert operations to undermine Soviet control in Eastern Europe, Philby betrayed them all. Resistance networks in Albania, Ukraine, and the Baltics were destroyed before they even began. Thousands of agents captured, tortured, and executed. Philby wasn't alone. He was part of the notorious Cambridge Five, alongside Donald MacLean, Guy Burgess, Anthony Blunt, and John Cairncross. But Philby was the crown jewel. Charming, witty, and deeply trusted by both London and Washington. In the late 1940s, Philby was sent to Washington as MI6's liaison to the newly formed CIA. There, he befriended James Angleton, America's future counterintelligence chief. Angleton admired Philby, trusted him, and even modeled parts of his career on him. All the while, Philby was feeding Moscow the CIA's innermost secrets. One of his most devastating betrayals came in 1951. When MacLean and Burgess were about to be unmasked as Soviet agents, Philby quietly warned them. They fled to Moscow overnight. Suspicion immediately fell on Philby, forcing him to resign from MI6. His career seemed finished. But the British establishment could not believe that one of their own, a man of Philby's background and polish, could be a traitor. With no hard evidence, the Foreign Office cleared him publicly. Friends rallied. By the mid-1950s, Philby was back in MI6 orbit, this time under journalistic cover in Beirut. Officially, he was a correspondent for The Observer and The Economist. Unofficially, he remained a trusted contact for British intelligence, while still serving the KGB. By 1961, however, new evidence emerged. Defectors like Anatoly Golitsyn and Fragmentary Signals Intelligence pointed again to Philby. MI6 interrogators flew to Beirut. At first, he denied everything, but under pressure, he faltered. He gave a carefully worded partial confession, enough to buy time. Plans were made to bring him back to London for further questioning, but Philby had already decided. On January 23, 1963, he slipped out of his Beirut apartment, boarded the Soviet freighter Dolmatova, and vanished. When the ship reached Odessa, Moscow welcomed him as a hero. Life in the Soviet Union was not what he had imagined. He was awarded the Order of Lenin, given a comfortable apartment, and lectured young KGB officers. Yet friends reported that he remained melancholic, drinking heavily, missing London clubs, cricket, and whiskey. His American wife Eleanor followed him to Moscow, but struggled with the isolation. She eventually left him. Still, Philby remained useful. He shared everything he knew about Western intelligence, helped train Soviet officers, and became a living symbol of Moscow's triumph over British arrogance. Kim Philby died in Moscow in 1988 at the age of 76. At his funeral, senior KGB officers laid wreaths, calling him a hero of the Soviet Union. In Britain, his name endures as a synonym for treachery. His betrayals crippled Western intelligence, destroyed countless lives, and nearly shattered the trust between allies. Philby was not a shadowy outsider. He was the man in the room, drinking with CIA chiefs, briefing prime ministers, running operations against Moscow while secretly working for them. The greatest danger is not the enemy outside the gates. It is the friend sitting at your table. And for decades, Kim Philby was that friend. For more shocking true stories of spies, betrayal, and secrets that changed history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel.